Hello. Is leadership development important for the performance of an organization? What do you think? In this short video, I will share some details to answer this question. Is leadership important to an organization's performance? Employee potential versus employee performance. How much of your individual capability or potential do you get to use at work? If your total potential is counted as 100%, how much of it do you get to use at your own work? Is it 10%, 25%, 50%, 90%, or a full 100%? Think about it for a moment and just give a number that comes to mind. What is your answer? Over the years, I have asked this question to thousands of participants who have gone through my leadership training or coaching programs. And guess what the average number comes to? It comes to roughly 50%. Most employees feel that they have a lot more potential, a lot more skills, a lot more capabilities, a lot more talents than they get to use at work. Imagine paying 100% salary to utilize only 50% of the capabilities and potential of your entire human capital. Working for a good leader versus a not so good leader. Over the years, in our careers, most of us have experienced working under a good leader, and in all likeliness, we have also worked under a leader, let's just call him not so good. Recall your own personal experiences. How was it working under a good leader? How about working under a not so good leader? What were the differences? Think about it for a moment. Who was able to utilize more of your capabilities and potential? The good leader or the not so good leader? Well, the answer is obvious. Good leaders bring out a lot more of employees' total potential. Good leaders encourage others to work to the best of their abilities and inspire them to put in extraordinary efforts. Our anecdotal experience is also supported by more than 35 years of research by Cousins and Posner. Leadership matters to many things. It matters to people's commitment at work. It matters to their willingness to work hard and take initiatives. It matters to the meaning they derive from their efforts. And it matters to their overall ability to perform not just to the ordinary, but beyond ordinary. Good leaders bring out the best in individuals, teams, and organizations. Extraordinary performance simply requires extraordinary leaders. What factors contribute to an organization's success? A study by Korn Ferry Hay Group identified 5 factors that contribute to a major extent to any organization's success. Number 1, strong franchises. Strong brands act as a moat or a competitive advantage. Take an example of Coca-Cola or an Apple. Number 2, beneficial environments. An environment that is helpful to business. For example, Silicon Valley for technology. Number 3, intellectual property rights. Patents and copyrights protect companies against other competitions and helps its financials. Example, Qualcomm, pharma companies. Number 4, regulatory barriers. They protect the current existing players from competition from new entrants. That helps the existing players to make extraordinary profit. Number 5, massive resources. Capital, natural resources, scale of operations act as a competitive advantage. Example, Google, Nestle, Procter & Gamble. These 5 factors combined account for 65% of financial performance of any organization. What about the other 35% of the performance? Well, the other 35 of the performance is attributed to, guess, leadership behaviors and the culture it creates. Leadership behaviors account for 35% of the financial performance of any organization, which makes it the single most important contributing factor. Leadership behaviors drive organizational culture. Organizational culture in turn drives business performance. How did Korn Ferry measure performance? Well, based on profits, balance sheet, people engagement in any organization. If leadership accounts for more than a third of performance in any organization, what are the implications? Well, it means that leadership development is again the single largest lever available to drive performance in any organization. Think about that. And it is probably the only factor that is entirely within the circle of influence of the organization. The difference that makes the difference. Today, most large companies have access to similar pool of talent. They also have similar access to capital, technology, and other resources. What then is the differentiating factor? What makes one company successful while the other may go out of business? Well, the difference comes down to how much of these available resources, people resources and other resources, get utilized by the organization. Do people work as a cohesive team for the common goals of the organization? Or are there silos and a race for individual benefits at the cost of greater good? Leadership behaviors create the culture, which then drives the employee engagement and which in turn drives business performance. Good leaders develop more leaders under them. Here is the conclusion from a Harvard study that compared good leaders versus the bad leaders. What criteria did they use to identify the good leaders and also the bad leaders? Well, the leaders who were in the top 10th percentile of their peer group were considered as good leaders, while those who were ranked in the bottom 10th percentile of their peer group were considered to be not so good leaders. What was the conclusion of the study? Subordinates of good leaders are 2.5 times more effective leaders themselves compared with the subordinates of bad leaders. Good leadership has a cascading and a multiplier effect all the way down to the frontline employees. Good leaders develop more leaders under them, who in turn develop more people under them. And this cascading and multiplier effect of good leadership can be felt at all levels of the organization, from the top all the way to the front line. Good leadership and good organizational performance are highly correlated. Developing leaders in your organization. Would you like to develop leaders in your organization? Isn't the answer obvious? We use Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coaching process to deliver measurable and guaranteed leadership growth. Here are some of the features of this process. Guaranteed measurable leadership growth as assessed not by us, not by the leader, but the leader's own team members, and that too anonymously. Unlike training or executive education programs where only the leader is involved, here the entire team will be involved in doing their day-to-day work. The leader himself or herself becomes the coach, and again it has a cascading effect down onto the team. It is a system for continuous improvement for leaders themselves and their entire team. If you will, this process is like leadership Kaizen. In a study of 11,000 leaders on 4 continents, 95% of the leaders using this process improved. 95%. This is the exact same process that has been used by 150 of the Fortune 500 companies to grow their leaders. In fact, we are so confident that this process works that we often work on a no growth, no pay basis. If we don't show measurable leadership growth, you simply don't pay. Don't try that with other vendors. Schedule an exploratory 15-minute conversation with our leadership advisor today, or call on the number shown in the description or on the slide. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do share it with others who may benefit from it. See you in the next video.